start with. Good to see you back, guys. Once again, I am back with a new tutorial related JavaScript. And in this tutorial, we are going to learn JavaScript nested loop. Nested loops are nothing new. It's a different way to write a loop. In our previous tutorials, we learned about how can we use loops. First, we need to initialize a value, then we need to set a condition, and at last, we need to increment or decrement our value. But in nested loops, we are going to use another loop inside this loop. I want to say a loop inside a loop. And we call this process nested loop. As you can see, inside this outer loop, we have another inner loop. And we can print any statement inside it. And also you can use another loop inside this loop. It's up to you how many loops you want to use. And you can use any kind of loop. For loop, while loop, do while loop, etc. So without wasting your time, let's start the practical and see how we can use it. As you can see, side by side, I open my Visual Studio Code editor and my browser using Live Server extension. And I already created a HTML document named index.html. So at first, I'm going to create a outer for loop. For inside the round braces, I need to initialize a value where I assign with 0, semicolon to end this line. Then after semicolon, we need to set the condition, and I want to run this loop 3 times. So here I'm going to type I less than equal to 2. Our initial value is 0, that's why we need to pass 2. Then we need to increment the loop I plus plus. Every time I want to increment the loop with 1 value. Then inside the curly braces, I'm going to print a document statement. Document dot write. Inside the round braces, I'm going to print underscore first level loop. Then semicolon to end this line. If I set this file, as you can see, it print our loop total 3 times. And also I'm going to use a br tag to break it down. Br. So as you can see, this is our outer layer. And in our outer layer, we print total 3 statements. Now, inside this for loop, I'm going to create another for loop. So here I'm going to type for, inside the round braces, this time I'm going to initialize another value. Where j assigned with 0. And again, we need to set a condition. J less than equal to 3. Because I want to print 4 statements inside this loop. That's why I use 3. Then semicolon. And we need to increment this loop. J plus plus. Then inside the curly braces, again I'm going to print a document statement. Document dot write. Inside the round braces, I'm going to print underscore underscore second level loop. Then semicolon to end this line. And also we need to use br tag. So here I'm going to type br. If I set this file, as you can see, every time inside the first level loop, we print total 4 second level loop statements. So this is the basic usage of nested loop. So I hope now it's clear for you how we can use it. Now let me show you some examples where we can use nested loops. Here you can see a tree structure. This structure is very useful to understand nested loops. As you can see, we have total 5 rows in this structure. And in our first row, we always print 1. And in our second row, we always print 2. And as you can see, our columns start with 1. In our first row, we have 1 column. In our second row, we have 2 columns. In our third row, we have total 3 columns. And in our fourth row, we have total 4 columns. And in our 5, we have total 5 columns. Row is our outer loop and column is our inner loop. And here, we need to create total 5 rows. And for row, I'm going to use variable A. And for column, I'm going to use variable B. So at first, we need to create loop for our 5 rows. So to print 5 rows, we need to use for loop. First, we initialize this variable value with 1. Then we set a condition. And it's less than equal to 5. Basically, this loop going to create this 5 row. And then we need to jump into the inner loop section. And here you can notice, every time the column start with 1 and end with the row number. For row number 3, it's end with 3. For row number 4, it's end with 4. For row number 5, it's end with 5. For that, we need to start our loop from 1. V equal to 1. And as you can see, it's end with the row number. That's why we need to set this condition. B less than equal to A. It means every time the outer loop run, it's going to send the A value in this loop. And inside this inner loop, to print this structure, we need to print the B variable. To make it more clear, let's start the practical. So as you can see, once again, I'm back to my Visual Studio Code editor, and I'm going to comment out all of this line. And then I'm going to create another for loop to create this structure. So here I'm going to type for inside the round braces, and I'm going to initialize a variable where a equal to 1, and after semicolon we need to set the condition, and I want to run this loop total 5 times because we have total 5 row. A less than equal to 5. Then after semicolon we need to increment this loop a plus plus. Then inside this for loop we need to create the inner loop section. So here I'm going to create another for loop. For inside the round braces, this time I'm going to take another variable which is b, where b assigned with 1. And then after semicolon we need to set the condition, but this time we need to call the a variable to create the condition b less than equal to a, and after semicolon we need to increment the variable b plus plus. This loop going to print the columns, and as I told you, our column end with the row number. That's why we need to pass a variable here. And now we need to print the b value inside the inner loop. So here I'm going to type document dot write inside the round braces. I'm going to type b. With that, also I'm going to print a space plus inside the double quote I'm going to provide a space. And now we need to break the line after every row. Let me show you. If I set this file, as you can see, oops, again I did a typing mistake. Here we need to use less than equal to sign. This sign, not the greater than equal to. If I set this file, now you can see it print all the row in a single line. To resolve it outside the inner loop, we need to print a br statement. So here I'm going to type document dot write inside the round braces. I'm going to use a br tag, br. If I set this file, now you can see the structure. Here you can see it print our structure perfectly. We have total 5 rows, and also according to the row number, we have total similar columns. This is the one example of nested loop. And if you want to increase the structure size, yes, you can. Just you need to change the number here. And I'm going to pass 10. If I set this file, you can see the result. Every time the increment value of this outer loop sent to the inner loop, and then it's going to create columns according to the condition. So I hope now it's clear for you how it's works. Now let's talk about our next example. In this example you can see also we have total 5 rows, but the column value is different. Similarly, to create it we need to take outer loop, and for inner loop we need to take b variable. But if you notice, you can see every time our columns start with different number. For our first row it start with 1, for second row it start with 2, for third row it start with 3. Just you need to focus on starting value, not every value. It start with the row number. That's why this time we need to print a variable value. So let's start the practical. So here I'm going to duplicate this line and comment out previous one, and I'm going to pass a variable. If I set this file, now you can see the result. Let's reduce the condition value to make it clear. 5. If I set this file, now you can see every time column values start with the row number. Now let's talk about our third example. In this example, as you can see, also we have total 5 rows. But the difference is we reverse the structure. In our first column we have total 5 value, and it start with 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. And to create this kind of structure, at first we need to initialize our outer loop variable with 5. I want to say how many row we want. We need total 5 row. That's why we initialize our value with 5. And then we need to set the condition. And this time we need to set opposite condition, a greater than equal to 1. And as you can see, our initial value is greater than condition value. That's why we need to decrement the loop. So we need to pass a minus minus. And then just we need to print the value in our second loop. So let's start the practical and see how it's works. So again, I am in my Visual Studio Code editor. And this time I'm going to assign a equal to 5. And also I'm going to change the condition a greater than equal to 1. and then we need to decrement the value a minus minus. If I set this file, now you can see the structure. Basically, we just opposite the loop to create this structure, nothing else. So I hope now it's clear for you what is the usage of nested loop. Without nested loop, we cannot imagine a proper functioning web page in modern day. And this is very important to understand nested loop. It's a very important one. So thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for our next tutorial.